dust swirled like angry spirits around the narrow red earth paths of Umofia village. The sun sat high and merciless, turning every shadow into a thin black line. Chickens scattered, goats bleated in confusion, and somewhere a child was crying because his pounded yam ball had rolled into the gutter. And right in the middle of it all, Amara was running for her life. Her bare feet slapped the ground so hard the soles burned. Her faded green wrapper twisted around her legs like it wanted to trip her itself. Sweat poured down her face, mixing with the charcoal smudges still on her fingers from the crime she had just committed. Thief! Thief! Oh, oh! Catch that girl! Chief Okonkwo's voice boomed like a cracked loudspeaker. His massive belly bounced under his embroidered agbada as he half ran, half waddled, waving his carved walking stick like a machete. Behind him came the entire angry parade. Mama Ngozi, clutching her wrapper like a weapon, Papa Emeka still holding his hoe, Nkechi, Amara's best friend, pretending to chase while secretly laughing, and even old Mama Ada, who could barely walk but somehow found the energy to scream curses. Amara risked a glance back and almost tripped laughing. The chief looked ridiculous. His white agbada, the one he only wore for important meetings with the local government chairman, was now streaked with bright red palm oil and brown streaks of goat manure. Tiny bells jingled from the necks of three of his prize goats that had followed him out of the compound in confusion. One goat, the fat one he called His Majesty, still had a little charcoal-drawn smiley face on its forehead because Amara had gotten carried away with her prank. It had started so simply. That morning Amara had gone to fetch water at the stream. As usual, Chief Okonkwo was holding court under the big Iroko tree, boasting to anyone who would listen. "This year's yam harvest," he declared, chest puffed, "is the biggest in 20 years. The gods have blessed me because my heart is pure, not like some people who only know how to run mouth and cause trouble." Everyone knew who some people meant. Amara, the orphan girl who lived with her auntie in the smallest hut at the edge of the village, the girl who sold firewood, carried water, helped at the market, and still somehow found time to make people laugh. The girl whose tongue was sharper than a new machete. She had listened to the chief's boasting while her own stomach growled so loud she was sure the ancestors could hear it. That was when the idea came, small, wicked, and perfect. At midday, when everyone was napping under shade trees, she slipped into the chief's backyard. His yams were stacked in neat pyramids like little brown kings. With a piece of charcoal, she drew happy faces, winking eyes, big toothy grins. Then she took the tiny brass bells her late mother used to tie on her waist during festivals and fastened them around the goats' necks. She hadn't planned for the chaos that followed. When Chief Okonkwo woke up from his afternoon nap, he stepped out in his best agbada to inspect his yams. The first goat moved, jingle, jingle, jingle. The chief frowned. The second goat moved, jingle, jingle. Then His Majesty bolted, panicked by the unfamiliar sound, charged straight into the clay pot of fresh palm oil and sent it flying. Oil everywhere. Chief slipped, face first into the manure pile his own goats had conveniently left behind. When he stood up screaming witchcraft, covered in oil and dung, with bells ringing all around him and smiling yams staring up at him, Amara, who had hidden behind the banana tree to watch, couldn't hold it in. She laughed so hard she snorted, and that was when he saw her. Now here she was, running, heart slamming against her ribs, thorns tearing at her legs, the entire village baying for her blood. She dodged left past Mama Ngozi's compound, leapt over a low fence, and sprinted toward the rickety wooden bridge that crossed the narrow river at the village edge. If she could reach the other side, she might lose them in the thick bush. Chief's eldest son, Emeka, the one built like a palm tree trunk, was gaining fast. His hand shot out, fingers brushed her wrapper. Amara screamed, twisted, and threw herself forward. The bridge creaked dangerously under her weight. She reached the middle, spun around, chest heaving. The mob stopped at the riverbank. Even Chief Okonkwo paused, panting, face still smeared. For one long second, silence. Only the sound of water gurgling below and distant birds. Then Amara, still catching her breath, grinned through her fear and shouted, "Chief, your yams finally have personality. Maybe now they'll grow bigger." A few people in the crowd snorted despite themselves. Nkechi doubled over, laughing. Chief Okonkwo's face turned purple. "Amara!" he roared. "When I catch you, I will personally marry you to the oldest man in this village so you can learn respect." Amara's grin faltered for half a second. She knew he meant it. She also knew she couldn't go home tonight. If you're already laughing and on the edge of your seat from this crazy village chase, hit that subscribe button right now. We're just getting started on Amara's wild journey from village troublemaker to banking CEO. And drop a comment. What's the most chaotic prank you've ever seen or done? I read every single one. Let's see if anyone can beat Amara's smiling yam masterpiece. That night, Amara hid in the small sacred grove behind the old shrine, a place even the chief wouldn't dare enter after dark because of the stories of spirits. She sat with her back against a gnarled tree, knees pulled to her chest, the necklace her mother left her clutched so tight the pendant bit into her palm. Tears came quietly at first, then in hot waves. She thought of her mother singing while pounding yam, her father telling stories about Lagos, tall buildings that touched God's feet, lights that never went out, people who made money just by talking. Both gone before she turned 10. Auntie Grace had taken her in, but Auntie Grace had 6 children of her own, and little patience left for a girl who talked too much and worked too little, in her opinion. Amara had always believed she was meant for something bigger. Tonight, that belief felt like a lie. She heard footsteps. Nkechi appeared, carrying a small bundle wrapped in leaves. "Mad woman," Nkechi whispered, crouching beside her. "You almost killed the chief with laughter today." Amara wiped her face. "He'll kill me tomorrow," Nkechi sighed. "He's talking about calling the elders. They might flog you publicly, or force you to marry that old widower, Papa Uche." Amara's stomach dropped. Papa Uche was 68, smelled like stale tobacco, and already had 4 wives who took turns beating each other. No, she wouldn't. "I'm leaving," Amara said quietly. Nkechi stared. "To where?" "Lagos." Nkechi laughed, then stopped when she saw Amara wasn't joking. "You don't even have transport fare." "I'll find a way." They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Nkechi pressed the bundle into Amara's hands. Inside, 2 wraps of cold pounded yam, a small bottle of palm oil, 50 naira in crumpled notes, and a tiny bottle of schnapps for courage. "Be careful," Nkechi whispered. "Lagos eats people." Amara hugged her so tight Nkechi squeaked. At first light, while the village still slept, Amara slipped past the main gate, heart hammering. She walked for 3 hours until she reached the main road. A dusty yellow truck loaded with yams and passengers rumbled by. She waved desperately. The driver, a thick-necked man with kind eyes, slowed. "We're too small, girl." "Lagos." He laughed. "You have money." She showed him the 50 naira. He shook his head but motioned for her to climb in. "Sit in the back. Don't fall off." As the truck lurched forward, Amara looked back at Umofia one last time. The red earth, the thatched roofs, the smoke curling from morning fires. She didn't cry, not yet, but tension coiled inside her like a snake. What if Lagos was worse? Lagos hit her like a slap. Noise, smell, movement. Everywhere people rushed, hawkers shouting, Okadas weaving through traffic, buses belching black smoke, music blasting from shops. Amara stepped off the truck at Oshodi, dizzy. Her bundle felt heavier now. She wandered, asking strangers for directions to "somewhere I can sleep cheap." Most ignored her, some laughed. One woman hissed, "Village girl, go back home before area boys collect your wrapper." By evening, her legs ached, her stomach roared, and fear sat like lead in her chest. She found herself in a narrow street lined with fabric stalls. A woman in her late 40s, head tie high and proud, was closing her shop. Amara approached timidly. Auntie, please, can I help you pack so I can eat tonight? The woman, Madame Ezine, eyed her up and down. You think I'm a charity? No, ma, I work hard. Madame Ezine stared a long moment, then sighed. Pack everything neatly. If you steal even one lace, I will find you and beat you myself. Amara worked like her life depended on it, because it did. When they finished, Madame Ezine handed her a plate of hot jollof rice and stewed chicken. Amara ate so fast she almost choked. Madame Ezine watched, arms folded. Story, she said finally. Amara told everything. The yams, the bells, the chase, the escape. Madame Ezine listened, then burst out laughing so hard she slapped her thigh. Yams with faces, goats wearing bells. Child, you're dangerous. She wiped tears of laughter. You can sleep in the back room tonight. Tomorrow you start working for real. But if you cause trouble in my shop, she left the threat. Hanging, Amara slept on a thin mat that night, stomach full for the first time in weeks, listening to the city hum outside. But sleep was restless. She dreamed of Chief Okonkwo's face and of a man with a scar who watched her from the shadows. 3 weeks later, Amara had settled into a rhythm. She swept the shop at dawn, arranged Ankara and lace by color, learned to haggle like a pro, charmed customers until they bought more than they planned. Madame Mezina even started calling her my daughter. But Lagos never let anyone relax for long. One humid evening, as Amara locked the iron grill, 3 young men swaggered up. The leader, tall, thin, with a long scar across his left cheek, grinned. New girl, he said, I'm Razor. This shop pays tax. Amara's pulse jumped. How much? She asked, trying to sound calm. 10,000. Weekly. She laughed nervously. We don't even make that in a week. Razor stepped closer. His friends blocked the street. Didn't we take goods, or we take you? Amara's mouth went dry. She glanced around. No one nearby. Madame Ezine had gone to the bank. She was alone. Thinking fast, she grabbed a heavy bolt of cheap cotton fabric. You want tax? She said, voice shaking but loud. Take this. She swung it like a club. The fabric unrolled mid-swing, wrapping around Razor's head like a colorful mummy. He stumbled. His friends laughed, then lunged. Amara screamed, kicking, scratching, throwing anything she could grab. Scissors, hangers, a mannequin arm. Neighbors finally heard and came running with sticks and shouts. Razor and his boys fled, cursing. But as he disappeared into the alley, he turned back. This is not over, village girl. Amara sank to the floor, shaking. Madame Ezine returned minutes later, saw the mess, and understood immediately. She hugged Amara tight. You're brave, she whispered, but brave people die fast in Lagos if they don't get smart. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She kept hearing Razor's voice. Months passed. Amara grew taller in confidence. She learned to speak sharper pidgin, to spot fake customers, to save every kobo. One rainy afternoon, Madame Ezine sent her to deliver lace to Echo Hotel on Victoria Island. Amara had never been to that part of Lagos. The building sparkled. Cars cost more than her entire village. She felt small again. In the hotel lobby, marble floors, chandeliers, air conditioning so cold she shivered. She waited nervously with her package. A young man in a perfect navy suit approached. Excuse me, he said, smiling. Is that for Mrs. Okoye? Amara nodded, tongue-tied. He was tall, dark-skinned, with dimples that appeared when he smiled. I'm Chidi. I work at First National Bank. My mother is having a dinner tonight and needs the lace urgently. He took the package, then paused. You're soaked. Let me get you an umbrella. Before she could protest, he was gone. He returned with a large black umbrella and insisted on walking her back to the taxi park. They talked. He laughed when she told him, a cleaned-up version of village life. She laughed when he admitted he still got lost in Lagos sometimes. When they parted, he slipped his card into her hand. Call me if you ever need anything. Amara stared at the card all the way home. If Chidi's first appearance has your heart doing small, small flips like Amara's, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Comment below. Would you trust a fine city guy like Chidi or run back to the village? Let's talk. Chidi started coming to the shop to buy fabric for my mother. He always left with more than he needed and always stayed to talk to Amara. He told her about university in Abuja, about working in the bank's loan department, about wanting to help people the way his father never could. She told him bits of her story, carefully avoiding the yam incident. One day he asked her out to a real restaurant. He said, "Not Buka, proper place." Amara panicked. She had nothing to wear. Madame Ezine, sensing the situation, lent her a beautiful blue dress and matching gel. "You look like a princess," Madame said, eyes misty. The restaurant was in Lekki. Soft lights, waiters in bow ties, food names Amara couldn't pronounce. She felt like an imposter. But Chidi made her laugh. He told her she was beautiful. He held her hand across the table. Then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, Ifeoma, and silenced it. Amara's stomach twisted. "Who's that?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "Old friend," he said quickly. "Nothing important." But the mood shifted. Later, Madame Ezine warned her. "City boys like him always have girls like Ifeoma. Rich, polished, connected. Be careful, my daughter." Amara nodded, but inside jealousy burned. 2 weeks later, Razor came back, this time with 5 boys. They waited until closing. Madame Ezine was at a supplier meeting. Amara was alone again. Razor kicked the door open. "Time to pay, village girl." Amara backed up. "I don't have money." "Then we take you." He grabbed her arm. She screamed. Then, pure instinct, she snatched a heavy metal hanger and cracked it across his wrist. He howled. His boys rushed her. She fought like a cornered cat, kicking, biting, throwing bottles of dye. One boy went down clutching his eye, but there were too many. Just as Razor raised his hand to slap her, a loud voice shouted from the street, "Police! Hands up!" Torches flashed. Sirens wailed. The boys scattered. Razor glared at Amara one last time. "You're dead," he mouthed. Then he ran. Amara collapsed, sobbing. Later, she learned Chidi had grown worried when she didn't answer his calls. He had called a friend in the police. He saved her. That night, in Chidi's car outside the station, Amara cried on his shoulder. "I can't keep living like this," she whispered. He held her tight. "Then let me help you climb out." Chidi pulled strings. Amara started her first national bank as a cleaner. She didn't care. Air conditioning, clean uniform, salary every month. She watched, listened, learned. She heard executives talk about interest rates, collateral, non-performing loans. She started night school, sponsored secretly by Mrs. Ngozi in HR, who noticed how quickly Amara learned when she was sent to deliver memos. Amara studied accounting, economics, banking law by candlelight when NEPA took light. Chidi tutored her sometimes. Their kisses grew longer, but Ifeoma reappeared, a stunning woman in designer clothes, dripping confidence. She walked into the shop one day while Amara was helping a customer. "So this is the village girl stealing my man," she said loudly. Amara froze. Customers stared. Ifeoma leaned close. "He'll tire of you. You're temporary." Then she slapped Amara hard. Amara didn't slap back. She just stared, eyes blazing. "I'm not temporary," she said quietly. "I'm permanent." Ifeoma laughed and left, but the damage was done. Rumors spread, Razor escalated. He kidnapped Madame Ezine, left a note, 2 million naira or she dies. Amara broke. She ran to Chidi. He wanted to pay, but Amara refused. "We call police. We end this." They tracked Razor to a slum in Ajigunle. Amara insisted on going with the police team. In the dark compound, Razor held a knife to Madame's throat. Amara stepped forward. Let her go. Take me instead. Razor laughed, then lunged. Amara dodged, barely. A scuffle. Chidi jumped in, took a knife to the arm. Police swarmed. Razor arrested. Madame safe. In the hospital, Chidi, bandaged, looked at Amara. I love you, he said. Tears fell. I love you too, she whispered. Time accelerated. Amara finished her degree, first class, promoted to teller to customer service officer to loan officer to branch manager. She fought corruption, reported as senior manager skimming funds, got death threats, kept going. Chidi proposed on the third mainland bridge at sunset. She said yes. His family sneered. Village girl. Ifeoma leaked the yam prank story to blogs. Headlines. Future banker's wife was village joker. Board members questioned Amara's suitability for higher roles. She marched into the chairman's office. I earned every promotion. My past doesn't change my numbers. She won. At 38, after years of reform, ethical lending, microfinance programs for rural women, Amara was named CEO of First National Bank. The ceremony was live on television. Chief Okonkwo, old frail, watched from Umofia. He smiled. She was always trouble, he told the villagers. Good trouble. Amara stood at the podium. I came from a village where yams had more respect than poor girls. I refused to stay small. The crowd cheered, but in the shadows, questions lingered. Razor was out on parole. Ifeoma had disappeared, but friends said she was plotting. Chidi's business faced a crisis, temptation to cut corners. Amara looked at her husband, her children, twins now running around causing chaos, her empire, and smiled. The journey wasn't over. It never really ends. Hey, family, if Amara's rise from village chaos to CEO power moved you, subscribe now and turn on the bell because there are more twists coming. Comment below. What part of Amara's story hit you hardest? The prank, the love, the danger, or the victory? Share this video with someone who needs inspiration today. And remember, the girl who painted smiles on yams is still smiling. What happens next? You'll have to stay tuned. Amara, now successful, visits Umofia. A young girl pulls a prank on the new chief. Amara laughs. Fade to black. Thanks for watching. See you in the next story.